Hi there. Today I just want to tell the story of Kulula Services Maid Center, and this is part of Kulula Services. I started uh, the the company or the business, let's say, as Kulula Services, as a company that would provide so many services in sub kind of smaller companies, and so uh, it's a lifelong project that I'm on to uh, establish Kulula services. And one of the services that I, I would like to offer is a maid center and maids in general. Another service that should be down the pipeline is the service of um, hiring of equipment, whether household or industrial equipment. And another service that is going to be part of that company is the luxury concierge service. And so, starting out small, like so many other businesses out there, and starting out from an idea, um, with very little finances to start with, I decided the easiest to kind of execute was the Maid Center, and so that was the starting point of Kulula Services with the Maid Center. And so I just want to share the stories that I've kind of experienced in setting up the Maid Center, and trying to get clients, trying to sell the product, and so many other things. Because generally uh, on on my videos on my channel, I think if one was to go through the videos, there are no specifics, and I just come out as a general entrepreneur and someone with entrepreneurial beliefs, and so on. And so I thought it'd be important for me to get in the details and put everybody in the know on that side. So there's so many things that I think can be put in the know, apart from Kulula services, the business. There's also, as you may well know, entrepreneurship is not always necessarily about businesses. And so I think I've shared in tits and bits or what I would like to start in the form of a rural teachers union in Zambia. And I'll share more on that. And so it's as you might already know, entrepreneurship is a growth process, and this process is one that is manifesting in me through Kulula Services as a business, and the Rural Teachers Union of Zambia, which I'm soon launching, is also another manifestation of my entrepreneurial activities and other smaller entrepreneurial activities, like trying to buy real estate and trying to invest and try out certain ideas here and there. And that's the manifestation. So it's the growth process. And so part of that growth process has been through Kulula Services, the Maid Center. And so starting from the beginning, Kulula Services was framed in such a way that I would, using the concept of the company of one, and this is a book by Paul Jarvis. You should read it if you're trying out something similar yourself. Uh, Paul Jarvis's book actually argues that you can run a company as an individual or a small team. And so based on the idea of the company of one process, I've formed Kulula Services, and the part of Kulula Services known as the Maid Center. And so um, the background behind that is basically, I work as a teacher. I'm a teacher by profession, an entrepreneur by career. And so in that background, my teaching profession led me to work from a very rural area in Zambia, very rural area, very, very far off from the urban areas. And that is in Dundumwezi. And it's about 89 or so kilometers from the nearest urban area. And so I looked at where I was at. I'm like, okay, nothing stops an entrepreneur. So how do I go about starting this Maid Center idea that I've finally generated for Kulula services? And so um, I looked for the first part, which I thought was very critical, was sales. And so I looked for a young lady who seemingly had some sort of uh, competence in English per se, because when you're operating from a rural area in Zambia, you have very, very few actually properly literate people. And so this is somebody I taught, because I teach language and English to be specific. So this is somebody I taught as one of my learners. And then I decided to hire her and see if I could train her to become a salesperson. And so I hired her and began to train her. Side by side with that, the idea of the Maid Center was that the people to offer the service would be maids, young ladies would be ready to go and work for people wherever they could work, and mostly the target market was urban areas. And so it so happened that the model I was pursuing was one in which I would have to train these young ladies from the rural areas to be house helpers, and this process kind of involved actually scouting for these girls. And the stories I find particularly interesting were where it all failed as amusing and interesting to me. I think as it should be for entrepreneurs. Failure should amuse you and teach you one or two things. I wasn't putting in a lot of money, so in that sense, failure is amusing. You don't want to lose millions of bucks. That's not amusing. So I wasn't putting in a lot of bucks. I was putting in a lot of ideas, putting in the work, putting in the reps. So first set of young ladies that we got to train as maids came in. There were two of them, and we trained them on how to take care of a house, how to run a modern house. Remember, these are girls that are coming from rural areas, and we're expecting them to save in different situations that include also urban areas. And so put them into training, and these two girls were going to be the flagship. These are the ones we're going to launch. And in the identification process, the girls were I just dropped out from school. And so there I was training these girls, because one of my central beliefs is that no human is worthless, as the education system likes to propose. Like, those who drop out are kind of left behind. uh, I would see potential in everyone. And so we trained these two, the girls to be, but the young ladies in real age. So train them on how to manage a house and how to respond to certain scenarios. We've got a whole manual on that, and how they can take care of their employers' houses and so on. And at the time, we were trying to look for clients to get them. One or two fell through, And then boom, both of them went back to school. The families decided you're going back to school. And so I wouldn't want to interrupt such a decision. They were for it, their families were for it, and let them go. And now it's back to square zero, no maids. And we start training other maids. On the other side, the other young lady had hired to be a salesperson also. Uh, After I had trained her, she was also supposed to part-time train the maids and also be part of the sales team. And she was brilliant. The young lady was doing, I think, particularly well in getting the new knowledge that about sales and so on. And as we just began, and I was getting her trained in the values of the company, the culture, and also the of course, being a new company, it needed value, culture. And so as I was just getting all those ideas into her and letting her learn how to sell, bang, a family decided she has to go to college. And you must understand that one thing that I learned was that dealing with females or young ladies, because those are the ones who seem to be more interested in anything that has to do with the maid center. In rural areas, is a competition. It's a competition between the livelihoods that the families in these areas have practiced for decades and years and many years, and moving them from a very agri-based kind of operation to bring them to a more secondary or tertiary type of business is one that is kind of difficult to resonate with the background that they've had. And so the glorification of school and the background of the culture of kind of being so pro agro and primary per se is one that had to kind of interrupt the processes that I was trying to get through. And so my salesperson is sent off to college and she's gone. The two maids I trained are also gone, sent back to school. So minor setback. I'm like, going to get in, and that's the general attitude I have. Get back in the ring, get in, no matter how long it takes. And so I get in, get another pair of young ladies, and linked from the experience of the previous ones. Get another one who is supposed to be trained in sales. Yeah, but then again, this second young sales lady that I got, who would double as a sales lady and a trainer of the maids, was not very so competent, but she had this hard work attitude, and in most companies that's all you need. From my thought, she had bought into the vision. But then the challenge is most of these families in the rural areas have got so much control about their female dependents and children, to the extent that most decision making is not necessarily up to the young lady, even if she was of age. And so because of the agricultural dependency of the society and the community, they depend on females as much of the labor in most of the agricultural work. Is it planting, harvesting, weeding, and all those things that go into a very labor intensive agricultural process? And so competing with that, specifically in southern Zambia, it is so entrenched in that many actually men and rural households are polygamous, and they are polygamous specifically for that purpose, that the women should be many and they should help in the work at the fields, and these women should have many children who are going to be part of the labor force, and specifically female children, to take her away from that. It's the one of the most interesting puzzles I've ever had to solve as an entrepreneur. So got in there, got this girl who understood the vision. She was passionate, like I said, of age to work and make independent decisions, but controlled by that very strong agricultural I should even coin a name for it. Maybe agro-polygamous institution. So the agro-polygamous institution that held her back, and we tried to train her, and she started training the other girls, and so she's training these two other girls, and we finally get clients, because we're trying to advertise and get client call from word of mouth. And so we send one of these girls to clients in Livingstone, Zambia, and we engage in we find ourselves in another challenge, and this is a challenge that has also entrenched in the background of the girls. So one thing that is part of the background of the rural girls, especially specifically to do with a Maid center, is that those that were willing to work were trying to escape something per se. And so, but you found that competence by virtue of operating in a bigger house, trying to take care of a bigger house, was so straightforward, because they come from a background where they lived in smaller houses with less craving demands. And so they would kind of pass the tests and then failed to execute in the field. But that wasn't the problem with this particular young lady. On her part, it was more of they valued the idea of being superstitious, per se, people bewitching you or stuff like that, especially when it might be possible that the girl is in love with someone where she's coming from back in her in the village, and so if she wants to go back, or she misses home, or she misses her child, they go superstitious. They'll fall asleep, pretend to be very sick, and give a picture that they're having some spiritual affliction. And so that's the situation that happened after I had sent the young lady to a client in Livingstone. And so she started showing signs of some sort of spiritual affliction. She claimed that she was being afflicted spiritually by some spirits that were in Livingstone, that were fighting against spirits from where she came from, and so on. And the client, of course, couldn't keep her, and so I had to transport her back to where I had gotten her, and she got back because I was offering the quality service that I had promised the client. And so that was one challenge there. And another challenge was with another girl who particularly hid her status, because usually clients would like ladies who would be able to work, and so pregnancy is not a very helpful scenario. So one of the girls we trained actually hid the pregnancy that she had, and but the client, having a keen eye, spotted that she has been pregnant, and that was after I'd already delivered her to the client. and the client had made a payment, and so it was kind of one of those situations again that I found fascinating, and the story that I think people can learn from, in the sense again of do your assessment, do your due diligence in whatever line of business you're in, investigate, know the background, have all your facts together. And so that helped me understand a lot about the kind of business I was in, and leading to this kind of sharing of experience. And so many girls had been trained. I think there's another girl that I trained and sent her over to a client, transported her, got her on transport, and told the client, "This girl is coming over to you." And finally, she got on the transport. She went on, got one of the uniforms from that I give to my maids, and went on and diverted. She just went on her own route and decided to just go somewhere else. And she never arrived at the client's place. Found out she was very okay, well alive, but she just diverted. And in that way, I disappointed the client. And so these were so many of the disappointments coming through the establishment of a maid center. And that journey keeps going, and very amusing experiences. And talking about the business trying to um, contend with the agro-polygamous society, I found one very hardworking girl, dedicated and super efficient girl. And every time I would try to send her off to a client, her family would object. And the strength of the family in the young ladies' lives, especially, that they tend to be dependent and not independent, regardless of them being of working age, that is, of course, above 18. And you'd find that the hold that the family has would, despite us making them sign consents, would prevent the young ladies from being employable. And so the agro polygamous society would hold them to remain as workers, free labor per se, of that system, and like them getting their own income. And so those are some of the stories from the trenches of Kulula Maid Service, and many other stories on that one. But I thought I should share the maid side of things, and hope that someone would be able to learn something, and kind of understand what's really involved, and get a clear understanding of my perspective as an entrepreneur, and how I do things, what I learn from. And so Kulula Maid Services is still there, and we continue with our pursuit to try and get trained young girls to, or young ladies per se, not young girls. We follow all the labor laws. So to clients that would be interested. And so entrepreneur is a problem solver, and so we work on trying to solve all the problems that we face. And for that, we'll never give up. Pivot, change your strategy, and enjoy the journey, because that's what entrepreneurship is all about. It's about enjoyment, growth, and solving problems, and encountering what you have to encounter to grow even stronger and be amused. So thank you for watching this steadily long video, and see you next time.